Hello, my name is Vernon Kemp. I'm the election system specialist for the Board of Voter Registration and Elections of Beaufort County. In today's demonstration, I'm going to show you guys the public test on how we test our election equipment using our ballot marking device, our DS200, which is our ballot scanner, which will be used at the polling locations that you normally vote at. And also, I'm going to show you the DS450, which we use to actually scan our mail-in absentee ballots. Let's go ahead and get started on the ballot marking device that you're going to be using on what we call in-person absentee voting. So what is in-person absentee voting? This is where you as the voter, if you have to vote before or anytime before the election, then you would use one of these ballot marking devices to vote on. Now, these ballot marking devices will also be used at your polling location on election day. So let us begin. As what we do is we do a rigorous testing on all of our ballots and every one of our equipment to make sure that whatever selection you make is the correct selection. So let us begin where the process for, let's say, for in-person absentee, you're going to be issued a ballot card once you've been processed through the checking process at your polling at both of our in-person absentee locations here in Beaufort and the one in Bluffton. So you're going to take your ballot card and you're going to insert it into the ballot marking device. Now, upon insertion, the poll clerk who's in charge will make sure that they'll select the correct polling location for you. So for example, for this one, we're going to use precinct Burton 3. So they will activate it on your behalf and immediately the ballot will come up so that you can begin voting. So the voter will begin voting. Notice that these are touch screen. So for those who have not used our ballot marking devices that we started using back in November 2019, you can actually know that they're touchscreen and you can select any selection. Notice that you can only make one selection if there's made. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and vote this ballot. On the side of this, we'll also have headphones provided for you for those voters who are vision impaired or blind, legally blind. And they will get a pair of headphones that they'll plug into the ballot marking device, and they'll also use the navigational touchpad, which has Braille on it, to navigate through the ballot. We'll continue voting on this ballot. Once they're finished, there's a review screen that's shown. So if a voter chooses to go back and make another choice, or there was no selection made, they could touch any part of that review screen for that contest and go back and re-vote again if they choose to. And then once they do that, they finish and go to next. Once they finalize, the last step they will do is print their ballot card. Once they print their ballot card will come out and the results will be shown on their ballot card. We will make sure that the voter will look at their ballot card to visually see exactly what selections they made. If they're happy with this, in the in-person absentee precincts only in our Bluffton and Beaufort office, the voter will fold their ballot card and they're going to place it into a ballot hearing envelope that will be provided for them. And then what they will do is they'll drop it into a ballot box that is designated at that location, and they'll drop it off. And the ballots for the in-person absentee will be counted on election day, starting after 9 a.m. when the ballots can be open. Okay, so that's how we process the ballots. And then for any person who wishes to vote in-person absentee, the last day to vote in-person absentee is actually for this upcoming election will be the day prior to the election. So it's usually the Monday prior to the election. Okay, so make sure voters that they're aware of that. Once they do that, we'll open them up and we'll go through and we'll run them through our scanner on election day. That's for in-person absentee only. So if you go to your polling location on election day, you will be issued a ballot card and you'll be inserted in. Now, in cases of some places where you have a multiple polling locations assigned to one location, so let's say, for example, you're over at the Charles Lynn Brown Activity Center, or most people call it the Green Street Gym. So there's 3 precincts that's assigned to that polling location. So if there are, then what they'll do is the poll clerk or poll manager will make sure that they will search for the correct precinct that you'll be issued a chit for, and then they will select the correct precinct. So in this case, we'll choose Beaufort 3, because it's Beaufort 1, 2, and 3 at that location, and they'll accept. And then the voter may begin voting. Same process, we're going to just go ahead and vote in no specific order. So once the voter has finished voting, like I said, the review screen will come up, then they'll print their ballot card. Now, like I stated before, this is on election day, so your process is going to be a little bit different. So you as the voter, once you get your ballot card, you will review your ballot card like we said before, and then now you're going to take your ballot card over to our scanner here, our DS200. Now, before we go into scan our ballots, we also have to make sure we set it up. So I'm going to show you guys on election day what our poll clerks do when they open up their polls. So once they set this scanner, they're going to open the polls up, and what it's going to do is going to print off an actual zero tape. And I want you guys to see this so that way you guys can see. So the zero tape is printing. It prints 2 zero tapes on election morning. This is before 7 a.m. when the polling place has to be opened up. Once the zero tape is printed, then the voting can commence on this scanner. Now, while that's printing, I'm going to show you guys that we have 2 bins here. So I'm going to cancel this right now. So we have 2 bins. One is for our emergency bin in case something goes wrong with the scanner, or if we have provisional ballots that need to be challenged. And our bottom bin stores a blue bin right here that's inside here that has 2 flaps that come up. And inside, this is where the ballot cards will drop down into. So now when the first voter comes in, we have instructed our poll workers to make sure that they show the blue bin that's empty to the first voter. That way they know that there's no votes that's inside there, no ballot cards. They'll lock it up, and then they will place a seal on this compartment down here. So once everything's set up, they go to voting mode. And now it's time for us to scan our ballot cards. Now, for our voters in our great voters in Beaufort County and across the state, we also instruct them to make sure that they don't show their ballot card to anyone else. So for privacy reasons, we always instruct you to place your ballot card in the very top bin, face down. This is to ensure privacy when you cast your ballot. Once your ballot is cast, it will immediately say, "Thank you for voting. Your ballot has been cast." And also for COVID-19 reasons, we want to make sure that we provide privacy and 6 feet distance from everybody when they're voting. As you can see, now I'll take the second ballot card that I used before and run the same thing. Now at the top of the screen here, we have what's called a public count. The public count keeps a count record of how many times a ballot card is ran through this scanner on election day. As we can see, we have a public count of 2. That was 2 ballots that were dropped in. From there, then they will close the polls after 7 p.m., at 7 p.m. or after 7 p.m. Or if there's a longer line, they will allow voters to vote and continue voting until the last voter that was in line has cast their ballot on election night, if we have one of those massive long lines of voters. Okay, so let's move forward. Once they do that, they'll print their results tape. The results tape will go up onto their respective entrances of their polling places, so that the public can be able to be aware of how many what the ballots were cast and how many votes were at that particular polling location. So let's move forward now. The other thing that we deal with is what we call mail absentee. All right, for this example, we're going to show you guys the mail-in absentee process. This is where the voters will have requested an absentee ballot and an application, so by mail. So when they get the application and they fill it out and they send it back, then our process is to test the ballots out. Once our ballots are tested, then we go ahead and mail out the absentee ballots. So what I'm going to show you in this demonstration is our absentee ballots. And what we do is we put them through a rigorous test. We do a lot of folds on our ballots. Why? Because our ballots do always come back folded. So in this demonstration, I'm going to show you that we use for our ballots and we can use for our ballot cards. We call this the DS450. This is our heavy duty scanner that can scan multiple ballots in one sitting. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put the ballots in. All right. The first thing we do before I scan my ballots is I go ahead and print out what's called a zero report. The zero report will go down to our bottom printer down here, our LaserJet printer. And what this zero report will do will show exactly that we should have zero totals on our report. So once that's printing off, we're going to go ahead, because I know it's printing, it's going to show zero reports for each contest. And we're going to go to our scanning mode. Now in our DS450, we have 3 trays. Our top tray is for anything that fails. Okay. Our middle tray, we usually configure it for write-ins during those general and special elections where there are write-in candidates. And then our bottom tray, it's for everything that's counted. So we also include what's called overvotes and undervotes. For this example, I move my overvotes and undervotes to this middle tray along with our write-ins, but we don't have write-ins. If there's a special contest, we have write-ins, then we'll do like that. But in this example right here, we have our zero report for our election. All right, so once we verify that, now it's time to start scanning ballots. This is where the fun part begins right here for you guys that's watching this, because now this is how we scan our ballots here in Beaufort County. Notice that the DS450 starts scanning ballots in multiple feeds. As you can see, it's going to the bottom tray because these are where the ballots are getting counted at. Chances are you're going to have a different ballot style compared to some of your neighbors down the street, or it could be some people in your own subdivision. So this is where you guys can go to myscvotes.org to check out your registration information. Make sure that you look at your registration card on the white portion of your card if you still have it to see your district information. It's your district numbers. You can go online to our website at beaufortcountysc.gov/votes and actually look up all your information over there also. Okay. Now, what we have here is we have a misfeed, but it went through. So what we're going to do is take the rest of our ballots that didn't count. And we do this on election night. Sometimes a lot of ballots don't count immediately, and that's no problem because we can just run them right through again. And while that's loading up, all right, it's going to show our vote totals. We have 101 ballots that actually scan into the bottom bin, which is what we're looking for. And of course, once we do that, we can save it, save our totals. The good thing about this scanner we can also save in batches. Batches means we're just saving in different groups. So if I have 3,000 ballots, instead of me scanning 3,000 ballots in one setting and probably having some mistakes or errors, I can scan in certain batches, like maybe 200 per batch or 100 per batch, and total them all up at the end. And that way, if something happens, I can always go back to that next batch and start all over again without having to erase the other information on there. The other thing about this DS450 and the DS200 is both of these actually scan the ballot also. So when we upload the data on election night onto our electionware system, we can actually see the actual digital copy of the ballots, whether it's a ballot card or if it's the mail-in absentee ballot, just like this. Okay. And after that, this is how we conclude our election, and then this is how we do our testing here. And if you have any further questions about our process on how we test our ballots and how we vote in South Carolina or in Beaufort County alone, please feel free to give us, contact us through our main phone line number at 843-255-6900. That's 843-255-6900. Or you could actually come by our office location here in Beaufort at the physical location at 15 John Galt Road here in Beaufort, South Carolina. Thank you.